Yes, just in. The Banana Amusement Corporation has elected CJA Wall as their president once again. This victory was achieved with 99.5% of the votes in the free and fair company election, with opponent John Worst Choice and CJA Wall only getting one vote from 20-year veteran janitor Joshua Kombucha. Here's word from Joshua.
Please let me out of here. This office building, they're holding me hostage.
President CJ has already announced a new direction for the company, which includes building a theme park with a profit goal of $1 million. CJ has placed project manager with 1 week of experience, Alexander Bananoger, as the leader of the new park project. What's to come from this? Only time will tell. For headlines, scientists have figured out the maximum amount of pencils that can fit up the human rectum.
Big business! That's right, boys and girls, I'm in the big leagues now. I have just been chosen by my fairly elected CEO to lead the construction and management of a new theme park. He told me that as long as I make $1 million in profit, he won't take my family away. This is all very exciting, but before we get into this big business, like the video and subscribe, my friend. If you have anything to say about how depressing my theme park is, or just want to tell me how I'm playing the game wrong, leave a comment, and trust me, I will read all of them. With that, let's get to making some cash. First, I needed to give the park a name, and then in order to ensure maximum profits, I decided to name the park Family Friendly Resort Park Extreme. With that, we're open for business. Like any good park on Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, I needed to start with the good old carousel. But this wasn't any ordinary carousel. No, this was the Blood Blender. The two skulls really add a lot of emotion, don't you think? After that, I got rid of some trees because they were in my way. I'm so sorry, Danny DeVito. And of course, you can't have a profit-generating park without some expensive fast food. So I decided to build the world's first Brick Donald's. Our motto was engineered by the world's finest psychologists to ensure maximum profits. To complete the quintessential RCT Park start, I needed to build an uninspired wooden roller coaster. Grass pride, anyone? To all of my grass lovers out there, I give you my respect. Now, you can't have a Brick Donald's without any unkempt toilets, so I built the first one in the park. Hey, I won't judge. Of course, you can't have the official Grass Pride roller coaster without the flag, and I even gave the ride some decorations for that Disneyland touch. I was still missing some staff, so I hired the finest workers, John, Pablo, and Bartholomew. To add some thrill to the park, I added a pirate ship with wonderful Willy Wonka-like theming. With the park beginning to expand, people were going to get lost, so I made a really bad-looking information stand to give away park maps and highly marked up umbrellas. Just then, I received an offer for a movie promotion deal, so I built the official Interstellar 2 motion simulator. Then I raised prices to make more money. And in cooperation with several oil corporations, I give the park its very own drag racing track. No electric vehicles allowed. I found this cool ice cube in front of the Grass Pride flag, and so I built a maze around it to really just surround my guests in pure grass. Then I built a Ferris wheel in the finest location I could think of, and upped the park prices once again. With prices going higher, I needed to make this park even more extreme. So I started to build a huge looping roller coaster. Unfortunately, the park was going bankrupt, so I paused construction. To keep building the coaster, I needed to make a quick buck. But I also needed to quench my guests' thirst. I killed 2 birds with 1 stone by building a drink stand with the official drink sponsor of the channel, Pepsi. Shove it up your. After making some fat sponsorship revenue, I continued construction on the looping roller coaster. Then I ran out of money again, and once again needed to take action. To improve park profits, I created a few death machines to peacefully send guests into the afterlife, so a new guest could take their place and pay the park entrance. With profits rising once again, I could finally finish construction on the looping roller coaster, which in honor of our sponsor, I've seen around good old Pepsi. Then it turned out that the ride was shattering people's bones, so I did a bit of redesigning and finally opened it to the public. Turns out the shattering bones problem was never fixed, so I put a first aid station next to the ride's exit. Afterwards, I did some scenery for the Pepsi zone, which made me realize how much this looks like the French or the Danish flag. To all my French or Danish viewers out there, interpret this as an attempt at peace. Anyways, I then built some more food stands to keep my guests from protesting. Let them eat cake, I said. I even built the park's first ATM machine, so guests could not only stuff their gullets, but also drain their savings account. The park was once again getting too filthy, and rides were breaking down, so I hired 4 more of the finest staff in the world: Barry, Patrick, Jaquez, and the Big Fix. With profits soaring, I could once again afford to build a big ride, so I decided to build a dark ride. In this park, you are guaranteed a fresh new Zell every day. Initially, I was going to go with a car factory as the ride's theme, but I think this just worked so much better. This inspired me to once again up the park entry prices, but to justify justify the price increase, I put some trash cans and benches around the park's paths. How lovely. By this point, the park had expanded all the way to the local lake, so I built an awesome railroad track around it. That's right, this park has a train ride around a boring body of water. Now I still had a long way to go to make $1 million in profit, so I built another machine that peacefully removes guests so another one could take their place. This one was more rail oriented, so there was no longer any discrimination in who gets to go to the afterlife. Feeling accomplished, I sat down for a while and watched trains struggle to go up a steep hill. While doing this, I realized that my glorious guest removing machine was working a little bit too efficiently, so I had to slow it down. Afterwards, I decided to really turn the park into an action park by building an extremely safe water slide. We aren't liable for any concussions or beheadings, but nonetheless, to help pay for a potential lawsuit, I maxed out the park entry pricing. I literally couldn't make it any higher because some people would literally not be able to afford it, which isn't good for our business really. I hired some mechanics and I went by the names John Mechanic and helped me on running out of ideas. Soon I was fiending for more profit, so I built more death machines. I even hired 1 million unnamed janitors to keep guests from tripping on their own vomit. But all of this was nothing compared to my next project. I built over a dozen miniature roller coasters to improve park attendance, and it worked. Soon enough, the guests were pouring into the park and it began to create amalgamations from the park paths. I then started an advertising campaign for one of my death mazes to try and generate profit in the most efficient way possible. Guests would come into the park looking for the ride, almost instantly fall into the afterlife, and another guest would take their place. To ensure guest satisfaction, I decided to create an eternal prison that kept guests trapped in the park. They were fed burgers and soda for all of eternity, fueled by cash from an ATM, and dumped into the communal toilet. They never complained, and park ratings remained high. For the guests who did not end up trapped, I decided to build a third awesome roller coaster. This one was a corkscrew and was not a pain to build. Sorry Pepsi, but I needed to seem a ride around Coke because that opportunity could just not be ignored. In other news, I decided to free the guests trapped in a prison. I know, I'm a saint, thank you very much. At this point, we were about 1/8 of the way to $1 million, and I realized that the only thing I could do to reach that number would be waiting 1 million years. So I decided to convert my cash into Russian rubles, found out I was 10 million monetary units wealthy. So mission accomplished. With the main goal of the park out of the way, I had one thing to do. I began to gather all of the guests in the park into one small space. I took the ground from beneath them and I filled it with water. But there was one guest left. For all the pain he had gone through, he got to live.